Now, the essence is to make sure that the social work students are being supervised and mentored by experienced practitioners. I think I was able to make that much point last time. You people are in your second semester now. Normally, what we do in institute is to do what we call KINEP. KINEP is your labor exposure program, where you begin to scout for organization, government organization, agency, NGOs, ministries, departments, agencies that provide certain services in your area. The essence of the KINEP is for you to have a knowledge about which agency produce what services, so that by the time you enter your second semester, the issue of trying to get agency where we are going to do with your field work is not going to be a problem. Now, during this your field work, you are expected to manage like 6 cases under the supervision of the social worker in your agency, and therein it is based on the cases that you managed or you are that you engage with that you are now going to use to write your practicum report. Now, I've made the point that while doing the practicum, you are going to be supervised by professional staff of the agency and the visiting supervisors who are representative from the institute. So while I try to make this point, it is necessary the head of class to be able to populate all the students that are doing a practicum, where you are doing the practicum, your state or the community where you are doing the practicum. What this will help us to do is that so that we can easily allocate social workers from the institute that are going to conduct the supervision. Practicum is a very big business in social work. And there's no way you do your practicum without being supervised by social workers from the institute. So having said that, you are expected to always interface with me, who is your practicum placement coordinator, for guidance through the process and ensuring that all necessary fees are paid. While you enroll to do this your Ppgdsw, there are fees that are attached to practicum. The first one is 5,000, which is practicum mobilization fee. The second one is practicum placement and the supervision fee. So you see, when you are doing your practicum, the social worker or social workers from the institute will come to your agency to do it with your agency supervisor, will do what is called case conferencing. You begin to tell us what you do, and we'll begin to ask you some questions. Then you begin to respond how we are able to do such cases. Now, as for anybody who have paid this fee, there is a provision in the website where you can, upload to Bless No Woman, or is it I0? Please, can you mute? Okay. Now, there are places where you can click to enroll once you go to the institute website, and there is a place where you click to upload your receipt. We take these issues of fees very seriously because they are going to determine the number of people we are going to send as a professional social workers to the field that will carry out this supervision. We are very elaborate in our last class about expectation from you in the field work, the importance of practicum, and all other issues that are associated with it. You are doing your Ppgdsw. I don't know whether to talk about the way you conduct yourself will determine whether the agency, will be giving you some unnecessary tasks that are not what you are there to. If it were our undergraduate students, we begin to tell them, you should be able to compose yourself. Don't become the errand boy that is going to buy biscuit and mineral for the agency. At the end of the day, you will find it difficult to write your report because you were unable to do something that is tangible. Now, there are also materials that needs to be downloaded when you must have paid the stipulated fees. We have the fieldwork format practicum. So this is a template that will guide you on how to report your fieldwork practicum program. The first page talks about name, matric number, program session, then where we have the name of the institute, Chartered Institute of Social Work Practitioners of Nigeria. Then being a report submitted to ISO, impartial fulfillment of the requirement for the student fieldwork practicum. Now, from there, you have the dedication. By the time you download these materials, by the time you pay your fee and you download this material, you begin to see it is a practical guide that you put on the table anytime you are writing your reports. You have acknowledgements, table of contents is always very necessary. Anytime you are writing a report, you have a table of content so that anybody that picks your report goes to the table of content, have an idea of the kind of summary of what you want to write about. You have chapter 1, which is an introduction. I think this is chapter 1. This introduction should be able to talk about what practicum is all about, how it helps students to garner a practical experience, so that by the time they will graduate, they will no longer be learning on the job because they have had that experience while the training was going on. Then, so after that, you go to chapter 2, where you talk about the organization. Whether it is a hospital, are you working with a teaching hospital, working with a paramedical center, are you working with a non-governmental organization? So this is where you talk about the organization. Then you talk about the brief history, the organizational structure. Call it I hope all of you know what is organizational structure. The hierarchy of the organization. If it were maybe in a medical setting, start with a medical director. Or if it were like a teaching hospital, you have something like chief medical director. Then you cascade it down to the least person in that organization. It is always very good while writing the organizational structure. Even when you talk about the organization, you approached old staff, experienced staff that will give you information about the organization. Or maybe if they have a website, you should be able to access the website and be able to acknowledge them when you are doing your referencing, both in text and end text. Now, chapter 3 talks about activities of the organization. Is the organization interested in orphan and vulnerable children? Is it the one that is interested in child rights acts? Is it the one that has to do with rehabilitation? This is what we are going to do in your chapter 3. The activity of the organization, the type of services the organization provides. Now, chapter 4, when we begin to talk about the skills and knowledge acquired, the skills and knowledge acquired, maybe you're a kind of person that doesn't have that kind of patience to listen to clients to talk. When you're now in this organization, you will now discover the way other social workers, even when you feel that the client is talking off point, you will see the way the experienced social workers will concentrate, looking at the client, as if everything is like what the client is saying. Even in your mind, you can conclude that this client is the essence of the skills and the knowledge acquired is that it helps you to shape your own skill and your own knowledge. The skills and knowledge that you feel you possess very well, you can improve on them. The skill and the knowledge you feel that maybe is not very good, you can now look at the experienced social workers based on the way they handle issues. For example, I know some people are so emotional that when they see a client, with in a very vulnerable situation, they may begin to help the client to cry. You cry with the client. What it means is that you have not been able to instill hope.
No, spread the cloth. The cloth not there.
So, what it means, you're vulnerable, you cannot help the client, but you can see a very vulnerable situation. You compose you see the way other social workers in your agency, the way they compose themselves. These are the skills, the knowledge we have gained. There are many of them. It could be writing skills. It could be a kind of skills of oral communication. You now begin to communicate well because you have the people who communicate well have mentored you. You can now communicate well. You have improved. There is no way you are in a classroom and you go to practicum without adding knowledge, skills from your field work or practicum. If you did not learn any skills and knowledge, what it means is that your effort in your agency is an effort in futility. Now, Chapter 5 talks about problems encountered. What are the kind of problems you encounter? Sometimes they write to some agents to observe you. They will observe you. They will tell you they don't discriminate against anything. But there are kind of problems that will come to the agency. You will discover that the staff of the agency will just do the work among themselves and sideline you. It will be a problem because they have, despite the fact that they have accepted you to work in their agency, they have sidelined you at a point. So it could be a problem. You understand? It could be that the agency is located in a very noisy place. Maybe an agency that provides psychosocial support. And if you come to the environment, they're playing very loud music, or maybe the setting where you provide counseling for the client is a place where people walk in and walk out. It will be a problem because it affects your concentration. Please, some of you will begin to write about this type of problem, money. We need to talk about money, transport. This is not what we are looking at here. But if you are working in an agency where I expect you people to talk about money or funding, is maybe if you are working with an agency that takes care of OVC people, and you discover that the resources that is in the agency is adequately managed to help the vulnerable family that comes to the agency, and there is no enough funding to take care of people who have been indicated to get help from the agency, that is when you begin to talk about funding as a problem in your field work. Not when you say, I find it difficult to transport. You are going to do your field work, So you should be able to sort yourself out. So I wouldn't like to begin to see funding. But again, except if during the course, what's really happened, just like last 2 weeks when the new president took over and there is increase. So maybe you have been going for field work for like 1 month. So you have planned yourself on how you're going to transport yourself. And you now need to readjust yourself, and have to spend more in transportation. That is where the problem will really come in, not from the one throughout your doing of the field work. There is no increase in there is nothing that happened in the national life of the country that will increase transport. You begin to now find it difficult to transport myself. And you now write it is because of that I was able to complete the number of hours that I'm supposed to complete my COS. And it is not going to be so acceptable. So when you talk about funding, to be able to provide a reason, that it shows that it hinders the kind of services that is being rendered by your agency. There are so many problems that you can begin to list, depending on the ones you encountered, in the agency or while going to the agency. Try your best not to go and do a copy and paste. The reason why I'm saying this is that you can do copy and paste. You get your own problem and go and copy recommendation. And the recommendation is not speaking to the problem you encountered. It is going to show us that you went to do and do copy and paste. So as you are saying the problems you encountered, if you have like 5 problems, at least 4 of them will be speaking to the recommendation will be speaking to the problem you encountered. Chapter 6, that's when you begin to do recommendation. I had a very funny experience concerning this recommendation. In one of the places we are doing CWS in our institution, a student just wrote that they should work with the organization where he did his CWS, that they should stop collecting money from students. Then I looked at the problem. There was never a place throughout the report that he said that the organization collected money. So it shows you clearly that the recommendation is just speaking to the problem. So the recommendation should try as much as possible to speak to the problem you encountered. Then chapter 7 is conclusion. You write a conclusion of what you have done in the field. Then references. Of course, I know even when you go and get information, even if it is oral interview, you ask somebody in the agency where you are working, you should be able to acknowledge that even if the person is Ademola, you should be able to say Ademola 2023 oral interview. We will be able to understand. It is always very good to reference the people you get information from. Now, another thing that we really need to look at is the practical manual. The practical manual provides a guide on how we are going to do your practicum. If you read your practical manual, you should be able to, it's something you need to be consulting from time to time to know if what you are doing is in line with the manual of operation when you go for your practice. Now, I've talked about your neighborhood exposure program, KINEP, the one we are supposed to do in your first semester for you to know the MDAs. MDA has to do with the ministry, department, and agency. These are mainly government organization or agency. We also have non-governmental organization and developmental partners who provide social work services to different categories of people in the society. Now, your field work is not going to last less than 150 hours. And the parties involved in fieldwork practicum, you have the students. Of course, you are the students. We have the faculty liaison. In this case, you have the PPC, the practicum placement coordinator, because it liaises with the student, liaises with the agency supervisor, even when it is time to kind of engage professional social workers that will do the supervision. Then we have the institute of the faculty. Okay, we have the institute representative, which is the PPC. Okay, the faculty liaison, are those who act as a kind of in between the students, the field agency, the supervisor. Then we have your PPC, who is the last person. I think I've talked about the purpose of a field work, so I don't think it is necessary for us to begin to repeat it. Now, say this manual provide opportunity for practicum option and outlines steps for setting up a practicum placement, including the required proposal and documentation. Requirement for completing the practicum, including supervision and the evaluation. The roles and responsibility of the academic supervisor, academic committee members, professional associates, and the student. Guideline for completing the practicum report. Setting up and completing the practicum presentation. Definitely, while you are doing your practicum, this practicum is going to be, I think we need to be interfacing on a weekly basis. The essence after today is that we should be able to hear from you. Why I'm doing this now is that so that you have a clear knowledge of your expectation, introduce you with the tools that you are going to use in your practicum. As from next week, we'll be hearing from you students, sharing your experience. And I said in the last class, the essence of sharing the experience is very simple. It is for cross-fertilization of ideas. There are people who work in a hospital setting. There are those who work in a rehabilitation setting. There are those who work in different organizations. The essence is for them to have that when people are now presenting themselves, we begin to see the kind of job that is being done in other organizations that is not there. Now, we have completion of the required form as part of the process to graduate. I think I've talked about the forms you need to fill. You need to get your practicum letter, get your confidentiality form that you are submitting to the agency. The confidentiality form is very necessary because it is a tool that is going to make the student to keep information they get from the agency secret. Not when you handle the case, you begin to open the discussion about the case to non-professionals. Now, about deadline for submission of completed practicum report pre-convocation. So definitely, as you are doing your practicum, a deadline will be given to you so that you will not say that you are not aware. Now, the social work component says that students are required to visit at least one agency, agency like community development, youth development, women development, rehabilitation services, industrial social welfare, juvenile case work, adult correctional services. These adult correctional services, I know you know them as prisons. It is no longer Nigerian prison service, now Nigerian correctional services. So the essence of the correction is to make sure that that those who need rehabilitation should be rehabilitated, so that when they go into the correctional service, they come out as a better person. Whether this is what is happening in our correctional services or not is a topic for another discussion. But this is the spirit of the correctional services, so that individuals who enter correctional services, when they come out, they'll be able to learn a skill that will help them to have a means of livelihood, or what is often referred to as income generating activities. This is supposed to last for like 4 weeks. Now, also the second aspect is that students are required to visit at least one agency: medical social work, psychiatric social work, school social work, family case work, child care services. This will also last for like 4 weeks, or each of the 4 weeks is 75 hours. I've said before that we are expected to manage at least 6 cases. I'm seeing 8 here. It's supposed to be at least 6 cases. So the 8 in this thing, the 8 in the manual should be replaced with 6. 8 in Wales should be 6. Under the supervision of the field practicum, report is made. Now, we have different concepts. We have the field placement, which is the component of the practicum course in which students will work under the supervision of a qualified field supervisor. So, for example, if you are placed in University of Benin Teaching Hospital, UBTH, that is your field placement. That is the field where you are placed. That is why it is called field placement. are working in a place like UNTH, you discover that UNTH becomes a field placement. If you are working in a correctional service center, then the correctional service center becomes the field where you are placed. So you are expected to complete your to do your practicum in that field. So we have the field placement test. This field placement is an act in which students work under the supervision of a qualified field supervisor and gain hands-on experience in a social work setting in the community. The field placement is an agency or organizational program that has partnered and contracted with the School of Social Work to provide a field placement opportunities to students and provide field supervisors who will supervise the student for the duration of the placement. So this is a field placement and the field placement setting. There is a thin line separating them because the organization where you are working or where you are placed to work cannot be separated by the services that you render to the clients. The field supervisors has to do with social work professionals who are in the agency, who are in that field placement setting, that hospital, that organization, that welfare institution that you are working with. The social workers who are there, the experienced social workers who are there, who are providing supervision for you, who are mentoring you, who are guiding you that this is how social work is being practiced. They are the field supervisors. We have a practicum seminar. This is the compulsory classroom component of the practicum course, where students focus on integrating social work theory and value with the practice in the field placement. When you go to the field, you will come back, we meet, I ask you a question. What is your experience in your last field? And then you will answer. What are the challenges you face? You understand? Then you answer. You have a client that you find it difficult for the person to open up. You continue trying. What do you do? What do you may begin to look at the environment and see how you can, open the student to how you can open the student to accept to talk. Now, the faculty liaison is an individual assigned by the Institute College of Social Work to teach the practicum seminar and act as the link between the student, the field supervisor, and the field coordinator for the purpose of monitoring and supporting the field placement. So my understanding of this faculty liaison has to be with the institute management, some of the admin officers who answers go between the student, the field work supervisor, and the field coordinator. The PPC is a faculty member who is responsible for field education development. In this case, the PPC is me talking to you now. I'm looking at the development, coordination, administration, and monitoring to make sure that you get the best monitoring or the best supervision, that for you to be a professional social worker, for you to be a social worker that practice ethically, for you to be a social worker that also practice competently. I've used two words here: practicing ethically and practicing competently. Practicing ethically means complying with the rules, regulations, the principles, codes of conduct, values that guides the social work. That is in the area of practicing ethically. Then practicing competently has to do with in areas where you render effective and efficient service.
Somebody should give me pen. Oh.
Can you patience? Okay, thank you. So Practicing competence has to be with designing intervention that address a problem. So it is my responsibility to make sure that the training you are getting helps you to practice ethically and also help you to practice competence. Now we say that Practicum administrator has to do with part of the College of Social Work staff team and is responsible for a number of administrative activities related to the field education. There is a whole lot of them. We have a code of conduct that the student is responsible for tasks related to the practicum. That there are pre-placement responsibility where you are expected to attend all required replacement activity, complete and submit the practicum application form by the established deadline in this manual. Follow all steps for setting up a field placement. Adhere to all placement policies and protocol. There are a whole lot of them. Should be able to download their practical responsibility. Meet all practicum time requirements, which include the minimum of 240 hours of field practicum attendance in all required practicum session and seminar. Then talks about complete all the assignments. Then we need to review this 640 hours. We really need to review it to know what it is all about. We'll talk about field placements where I talked about kindness. Please, Chioma. Is Chioma there? Sure, I saw one Chioma here. I've talked about kindness before, so I want Chioma to talk to us about kindness, but it seems that, okay. Then we have the first one I talked about kindness. Then the second one, talk about field practicum that has to do with 150 hours. The ones you are doing now is the field practicum that will last for 150 hours. Field work deadline. So that you are supposed to complete your 150 hours field practice within the time allocated for academic work and submit your logbook and field practical report typed and spiral binded 1 week before the commencement of second semester. So as you are preparing for your second semester exam, you are also writing your report to make sure that you submit 1 week before the commencement of second semester exam. Then we have a record of hours, and it says that you student must download and maintain a logbook of field hours in which you will record the number of hours spent in approved field based on learning activities each week. Students must have their record of hours signed by their field supervisor. When you are writing your record of hours, some of you will go to field by 10 o'clock and leave by 12 o'clock, and you go and write 6 hours. If we're able to establish that, the work you do in 2 hours is not the work you do in 6 hours. So you should be able to measure to know what you are telling us. Now, there are elements to be included in field practical reports. One, students are required to download the field work practical report template for compliance. Once the template has been designed and sent to the institute's website, once you have done your done the necessary payments you are supposed to do in field practicum, you have to go and download the fieldwork practical report template for compliance. You need to. We are not going to receive anything that is short of the template that was given to you. We cannot be having a recommendation in chapter 4 where we are supposed to have problems that I encountered. Now, elements to be included in field. Okay. The following information provide a framework to guide the development of the field practicum report. I've talked about introduction, body of the report. Body of the report will include description and discussion about the primary activities during the practicum, current literature as it relates to the goals and objectives of the practicum. So while you are doing your practicum, you are not only reporting what you have done in the field, you need to do a little more research to find out a kind of a national view or global view of the activities you are carrying out in that agency. Discussion about how practice has been informed by theory. For example, you have a delinquent child, and maybe what makes the child delinquent is that there are some chores that he does not do. As a result of that, the parents or the guardians, punishes the person, So you want, that is your client, the delinquent child. You can now to look for ways to define the behavior of the child. Where we begin to encourage the child, maybe have a kind of timetable for the child. If you wake up, you can help your parents to do this, then so that you'll be able to take your bath. If the child is not doing those things, and you are able to succeed for the child to begin to do those things, you are now using what we call behavior modification theory to work in the field. And if you have a client that has a problem that you need to involve the family, the peer group of the child, the church members, the children, what it means is that you are using different systems within the client system. You have used the family system, use the educational system, use the peer group of the child, use the church, the group, the church group the child is. So you have used system theory to be able to. So when you explore these different systems within the client system, you can now say that you applied a system theory. The same thing with task-centered TCT therapy. Maybe you begin to, for example, give a child that doesn't do well in the class. You now say, okay, when you get home, read this portion of your note. In the evening, read this portion. When you wake up, maybe by 5 o'clock, read this. You are giving the child the task. And that is why it is task-centered. The child will now, once the child begins to do those things, before you know it, it becomes part of the child. So you have used task-centered therapy, to solve the problem of the child. Now, discussion about how practice has been, okay, I think I've said that. Details about how the goals and objectives were achieved. Discussion about the challenges. Discussion about ethical consideration and challenges. This ethical consideration can be very technical sometimes, because there are a place where you begin to experience ethical dilemma, and you begin to say, hey, which one do I use? So we now use your scaling method to know any of the ethical responsibility that is less harmful. So discussion about ethical consideration, but once there is no ethical dilemma, you just make sure you follow the ones that is ethically sound and continue to do what you are doing. But once there is ethical dilemma, you use your scale to begin to weigh which of the ethical dilemmas have less, how will I put it, have less effect, negative effect on the clients you are working with. So we have, there are different elements again provided to assist the student in the works writing. This include ideology, beliefs about determinants of a problem, client worker status and the implication for relationship. Theory. The student will be expected to engage in critical reflection of the theoretical framework which they use and study during the practicum. I've talked about this theory. Value, the student value base, given the student's social location. The value base of client constituency. Value, value are the things we cherish. So in social work, too, we also have some values that we cherish in social work practice. As you are working as a student, you also have some values. But while having these values, you should make a deliberate effort to make sure that your value does not collide with the values of your client, or you do not impose your value on your client, because it will lead to what we call a malpractice suit. Once you begin to influence the client's value because you feel you can do it because the person is your client. Ethics. These are the discussions about STN, through which the student was able to practice in an ethical manner. Any ethical dilemma faced, how ethical dilemmas were resolved, including self-determination and confidentiality. You know, for example, if you are working with how will I put it, a HIV, I think that is a HIV positive person, and the husband does not know. You have the principle to allow the client to self-determine whether he will tell the husband. You know, you also have the confidentiality of not allowing the information given to your client to be relayed to the client. But you know that if you allow this woman to begin to sleep with the husband, that the tendency of the husband get. So you are now having issue of life and death. What do? You need to encourage the client, speak the language the woman will understand for her to open up to the husband. But if all effort, you know, to influence the woman to speak to their husband fail, then you now look at the issue of life and death, and you now say that yes, you need to allow the client to self-determine, or you also need to keep secret the information given to you by the client. But if you leave this thing to continue, the tendency is that this woman is going to give HIV. So that is why I use the word scale. Scale will begin to weigh which one has greater grave consequence. You know, then that one that have lesser grave consequence is the one that we are supposed to explore. Now, strategy. What are the agency practices with respect to individual counseling, small group, family counseling, consciousness raising, collective action, and community development? Now, we have scale. I've talked about this scale before. What are the skills that the students use, observe, or learn during the students' practicum? All these documents that are given to you, the practicum manual, the method of writing record, they go hand in hand. If you understand one very well, you should be able to implement the other very well. So they will guide you to have a kind of robust report about what you have done. Now, conclusion. The conclusion of the report should be summarized elements discussed in the paper and should include final comment on the student professional development arising from the field of practicum, visions for future work as a social worker, vision for the social work profession and for social change. Should be able. I always tell students that if you go to a field work, if you go to field practicum to any agency, you should be able to come out with something you think that if the agency do, that is going to improve their service delivery. You cannot go to an agency as a social work student, and when you finish, you did not add value to the agency where you worked. It doesn't speak well of the student as a social worker. Now, institutes have criteria for selection of field. The organization mission, statement, philosophy of service is compatible with the values and ethics of the social work. If you organize the mission, your philosophy of the organization is not compatible with the values and the ethics of the social work profession, the student social worker have no business going to such an agency. The organization should be able to demonstrate interest in ongoing commitment to the education of social work students. It is always a privilege for organization to provide a kind of training under the CUS program, whether it's work, whether it is in the medical, any field at all, whether it is engineering, any organization that will be choosing to provide a kind of learning on the job for the student, they should be able to demonstrate interest in ongoing commitment to the education of such students. So we are not only talking about social work students. The same thing with other fields. If the organization did not show commitment in ongoing education of the student, then there is no way the institution will like to send students to such areas. So they must have interest on the ongoing education of such students. The same thing with social work. So before you send student social workers to any agency, that agency or that organization may have commitment to the education, ongoing, continuous education of social work students. Then the student is willing and able to make available a range of learning experience. I talked about those who hide knowledge. That is a case that came. They did it among themselves, who are the permanent staff of the organization, and they sidetracked you. It is not good for student social workers because it creates a kind of bad impression. They have said they have accepted you. What it means is that all the things that you need to learn, they should be able to be open to give you that learning. Then a qualified field supervisor is available in accordance with the institute's requirements. Anywhere you are going to do your field work, a qualified supervisor should be available and is provided in adequate time during the work day for assigning field placement activity. This supervisor will be assigning the things you will be doing, or maybe if you have some critical case that is handling, make you to try to be around to see the way he or she does those work, so that you too will learn while watching the experienced social worker handling clients. Now, the organization needs to see the placement as a kind of educational objective, just a situation where the student has come to learn, as defined in the learning contract, and not limited to the service objective of the organization. So they will see it that you have come to learn. What it means is that they need to teach you all that you need to know in that organization. Once they have the client that will provide that kind of experience for them to teach you what you need to know. Then say that the organization will provide school facilities and clerical assistance, as well as covering costs customarily met by the organization in rendering service. As a student, you don't need, the point needs to be made that you don't need to begin to spend your personal money. There is a lot of things that happens in medical environment, medical social workers. You see some social workers who are in the hospital. If they have an indigent patient, if you are saying that the baby and the management should look into the case, or maybe that if they release they will want the social workers, the medical social workers who are in that agency, to kind of stake their salary, such that if the indigent patient did not pay, then they will take it from the salary of the social worker. It is not good. It's a very bad practice, because social workers also have family, they have responsibility, they have people who are dependent on them. So they don't need to stake their salary. So it is not your responsibility as a student social worker working in an agency to begin to dole out money. You have seen a case, it is very pitiable. You want to do, no, you did not solve the client's problem. You need to look at the client to know what the client needs and develop intervention towards solving the problem. If it is somebody that needs skills, the person should be able to learn the skills that he needed. So I condemn in totality the social workers who stake their salary for indigent patients for the management. It is not good, because they also have their own responsibility. So it is not your duty to begin to cover the expenses of the organization that you have gone to go and do.
Like it's so clean, like it's everywhere is just clean, no stress. Everywhere. I just love the standards. My nigga invites me. That's time inviting from that time that you are I was stepping into sanitation. Just it on for me. I'm very excited. Went to US for like, that's what you
But there's one long note there.
Okay.
Are you asking question? Hello? Okay. Now, also while going to do practicum in agency, there are agencies that require, there are some agencies that you need to be healthy enough for you to be able to work. We call them health requirements. In certain field settings, students may be required to provide documentation confirming immunization or demonstrated immunity to certain communicable disease prior to entry into the setting. Required immunization generally include, but may not be limited to the following: Lassa fever, Ebola, COVID-19, HIV, measles, chickenpox, hepatitis, tuberculosis screening. It is important that students make appropriate arrangements with regard to applying the field setting with the required documentation in advance of the field placement. So if you are going to an agency that requires you to take all this immunization or vaccine, then you need to do that. Because if you don't meet up with that requirement, what it means is that they will not absorb it. That is why if you are going for field work, you be able to know what is the agency's requirement and make sure that you comply with the requirement of the agency. Now, professional conduct. While each student must make the transition from student to professional, as social workers in training, practical students are interacting with education, peers, field setting, personnel, members of the community, and various client groups. As they are interacting with different, they are making impression as a professional at all time. Professional conduct is always very good for a student social worker. As a student, you have a responsibility to be aware of and are expected to abide by the expectation of professional conduct for practicing social workers as outlined in the Social Work Code of Ethics and the guidelines for ethical practice. Based on this guideline for ethical and professional conduct, each student is expected to demonstrate commitment to his or her social work education and professional excellence. So this professional conduct means that you need to really conduct yourself professionally. You know, not you begin to behave like touts in the market or at various parts. Social work is a profession, so there is a professional conduct that is required of you. You don't talk anyhow. You have social responsibility to the society. That when society sees you, yes, they see you as a responsible person that they can talk to. They see you as somebody they can trust. You know, it's not somebody they believe that their mouth is leaking. If you tell the person anything, the person will go and share it with other people. Before you know it, the whole thing has spread in the entire vicinity. Then students failing to complete practical requirements. In our last class, I've said that anywhere in social work, a fail in practicum is a carryover. You cannot, is it, yes? Is it carryover? No, you can't carry over practicum. That is another session for you. So we need to take placement evaluation into consideration when assigning a grade for the practicum course. So a student who fails to meet all practical requirements can withdraw. From the work or from the practicum. So you are expected to meet up with the requirements from of the practicum for you to be able to have a successful practicum and for you to be able to pass it very well. Now, if the student is assigned an unsatisfactory grade for the course, the student retains the right to submit an appeal as outlined in the following sections of this manual. Now, a student who has failed a course or who withdraw at the end of the term must have the approval of the practicum coordinator to register for a practicum course. You know, so I think this point is clear. If you fail a practicum course or who withdraws at the end of the term, what it means is that you must have the approval of the practicum coordinator to register for you to be able to write that practicum course. Now, the point needs to be made that when I say that it is another session that you have to do your practicum if you fail. If you look at it now, practicum is always at the second semester. So what it means is that you have to allow those who are doing their kind of and the first semester to finish, and then you will join them when they are now doing their practicum in the second semester. That is 1 year. Now, a student who makes 2 unsuccessful attempts at completing a practicum course may be required to withdraw from the Ppgdsw program. If you make 2 unsuccessful attempts at passing your practicum course, what it means is that you may be advised to withdraw from the Ppgdsw program. I've talked about practicum seminar, that each student must participate in a practical seminar, which run concurrently with the field placement. It's simple. As you are doing your field work, we are meeting on a weekly basis. I'm hearing from you. So it is expected that by next week, I'm going to talk less and you people will talk more, bombarding me with the experience you had in the field. If there is anywhere we need intervention, or if there is something you did in the field that we feel that you need to do in a different way, we discuss all of that. When you are doing this seminar, you are learning. It's not something you need to be ashamed of so that people will not laugh at you. So it's something that you be able to tell us what happened in the field, how you reacted. There are some postgraduate students that will send to schools for people with special needs in area where I teach. When the students got to the school, they saw people with children, those who have inability to talk, those who are blind, those, whom it seems that their behavior is not normal. So when they got to the school, they were scared. They were afraid to come down from the vehicle. So finally, when we met in seminars, I was asking them, what is your experience like? Some of them just stood up and said, if not for field work, now he doesn't think that he's going to be in that environment. Things like that happen. You see people with different problems. Things that, if not that you are studying social work, you may not have any business with such people. It is a school for the disability, different aspects of disability. Children with different types of disability, they are in that school. And people don't want to associate with them. So your first experience will be like you want to reject them. You want to run away from them. These are experiences. But when you now remember that you have come to improve the quality of life of such people, you need to take away those kind of ugly experience that you think that you have felt. Now, again, in practical seminar, we integrate theoretical knowledge with actual experience in the field. I've said it before. If you handle the case, I expect you to tell me the theory you integrated. Every intervention you are providing in social work must be linked to a theory that you use by arriving at the intervention you design for the client. Now, there are 2 types of seminar for practicum students. You have the student practicum seminar. This is the mandatory component of the practicum for all students registered in the practicum course. Then we have supplemental practicum seminar. This is the mandatory component of the practicum, only for students working with a field supervisor. So there is one for students who registered in a practicum course. This one is standard practicum seminar. There is one that is mandatory for a component of the practicum, only for students working with a field supervisor. I've talked about field supervisors who are professional social workers working in agency, who are mentoring the social work students during their practicum. I've said that it is a mandatory classroom component. I don't think we need to talk about this much. I talked about kind help, talk about field. Okay, let's talk about the responsibility of the field supervisor. They meet with the students once he has prepared their initial learning contract. Once you prepare the initial learning contract, you meet with the field supervisors, meet with the students. If you go to an agency that has a social work unit, once you say that you want to do your field work practice, they will just refer you to the head of the social work unit. If it is in places like orthopedic, that is where you will find your office, where you will be going to. That is where you will be reporting. You report to that place first. Then if you need to go to ward round, you take off from there. So they have first contact with the students when they come for fieldwork practice. They offer suggestions regarding how the learning objective might be met in the setting, the tasks and activities available, and the possible limitation. They will tell you the kind of challenges they have, the kind of the things you are going to learn. In my area, I have opportunity of meeting my students yesterday who are doing their stewards in a health facility that I went to assess, health services. So when I saw them, they were like, the social workers who are there told them that because all of them just came back from strike, that they are going to enjoy staying in that health facility. So the field supervisor should be able to provide you this kind of, you are going to learn things like how to manage client, how you can help client, solve their financial needs and all other problems they help clients to do. They attempt to work out a mutually agreed upon learning contract with the student. Some of them, apart from, exposing them to the practical aspect of social work, they also provide a kind of lecture for them. They tell them this is the way you behave when you go for ward round. These are the challenges you are going to face. We have people who are in trauma center. Not when you get there, you begin to cry. They prepare your mind towards it. So also work out learning contract with the student. And they can use the learning contract in the following way to guide the work of the student. That work the student is using, they use it to guide it, to review the student progress in supervision session. If a student has come, you see the point where you met the student, you've seen the capacity of the student. Now you begin to see the student make gradual progress, and you monitor the student through that progression and see how far the student has imbibed some knowledge and skills. To evaluate the student achievement of learning outcome at the midpoint and end point of the placement. Evaluation is very key with the field supervisor. You begin to evaluate the student achievement. Has the student improved? What are the learning outcomes the student has been able to achieve? He will do it at the midpoint. When you are in a school setting, you will teach for some time, and you have what we call the midterm test. After that, you have the exam. So the field supervisor also evaluates student achievement of learning outcome at the midpoint and end point of the placement. The essence of the midpoint is that if the student is going in the right direction, we will now provide a direction where the student can also improve better. But if there are some inadequacies, he or she observed on the side of the student, we will now address such inadequacies so that the student does not carry the inadequacies throughout the practicum placement. Attuned to power difference between the student and the field supervisor. Just this one is just talking about having a kind of, yes, the field supervisor is the professional social worker. The student is learning on the job. So the supervisor have a way of balancing the difference between the student and the student and himself, who is the field supervisor, so that the student social worker will feel free to discuss with the field supervisor. Not, yes, you can say that the field supervisor is superior, but there is a way the field supervisor will engage with the student. You will now see that the student will now begin to see the field supervisor as a senior colleague that he can easily go to anytime he's having a challenge. We have a field liaison responsibility. This, as the word liaison, they are like go between the student, the PPC, the the student, the PPC, and the field supervisor. Now, they review the student proposed learning contract to ensure the following. The objectives are released to the learning objective for the practicum course in which the student is registered. Every course in social work has an objective, the same thing with practicum. So the faculty license ensures that objective of practicum, the learning objective of practicum, in which the student has registered is achieved. The learning activities are clearly identified and approved by the field setting. Measurable outcomes as identified. Make suggestions for contract refinement and revision as necessary. If during the course of students' engagement with the agency where he or she is working, and there is a need to adjust a kind of policy that does not affect, that does not, that is not for the best interest of the, how will I put it? Not for the best interest of the student. He can see how it can be adjusted, and make sure that the student has the best practical environment to learn. They regularly review the learning contract during on-site and telephone consultation with the field supervisor and the student and oversee adjustment. Talk about a review. Before you do a review, you evaluate, trying to find out whether the learning objective is being achieved. During on-site, they can also, what we call on-site, going to the agency where the student is doing the work. They can also do it through telephone conversation, either with the field supervisor or with the student, or to see how they can make some adjustment. They utilize the learning contract in the final evaluation of the practicum. Now, the learning contract, has it been achieved? The practicum has come. During the final evaluation, how can the learning contract be utilized? How can you put them into practice so that it don't become a kind of a theory thing that is hanging? Now, theory to practice assignment. This helps students to demonstrate their ability to integrate theory and practice relative to their actual experience in the field. I don't think I need to talk much about this theory because I've used the example of system theory, behavior modification, task center therapy to give example of how students can, the intervention they provide, the theory they use in providing the intervention. Is it social learning theory, where you begin to do a kind of role play? That thing the client cannot do. You now do a kind of a role play so that the client will look at you, and then we call it modeling sometimes. We will look at you, see the way you do the things, and then you watch back, you stay back, you not allow the client to do it. So which one did you use? Did you give the client the task to perform? You try, is there a behavior that is not, that the client is exhibiting that is not good, that you try to modify? Did you give the student a portion that he reads on daily basis, task-centered? That is why it is task-centered. You are giving a student a task or a client a task, and it is believed that if the client follow through the task, that the task will become part of the client, and before you know it, it becomes something the client does with ease. So I'm not going to spend much time on theory to practice assignment, because that is where you integrate theory and practice relative to your actual experience. It is very easy, it's a very easy thing to do. Now, we have student must choose one of the following two options for the theory to practice assignment: the reflective paper, the reflective journal. Now, the reflective paper reflects fully on one particular theme or issue that is of significant to the student field placement experience. Example, mental health and homelessness, community engagement strategy for youth, siblings of children with disability. The paper uses both example from the student's practice and the example from reading on structural social work theory and related practice model to extend the challenges period of understanding of the choosing issue. Now, the student may also refer to the relevant theories and models, such as those used by social workers in the student's field setting. Strong papers will intertwine the student lived experience and observation on placement with social work model. The reflective paper should be 10 to 15 pages in length, excluding references, maximum of 3,000 words. Then deadline, 7 weeks prior to the end of placement. Each student is responsible for submitting a copy of his or her completed theory to practice assignment to the faculty liaison. Students are also encouraged through, though not required, to provide a copy to their field supervisor for discussion and further exploration in field file. I always believe in what is called peer review. Although they say that giving your supervisor is not required, we are giving the work you did to your field supervisor. We allow your field supervisor to kind of make some input to what you have written. And there is a way it enriches the work people do. Once you do peer review, if maybe all of you are in on-site class, that we meet you in the class and discuss with you. Anytime you finish writing an article or writing anything, it is always good to give to a second person to review. You may be surprised the kind of contribution such a person can make to the work is done. So though this one is not required, I will encourage you, if you have a very good rapport with your field supervisor, which you are supposed to have, it's always good to give them the work we have done to see how they can make rich input to what you have written. The reflective journal. This is designed to capture the development of a student learning throughout the duration of the practical by demonstrating the process of critical analysis, thoughtful questioning, and critical self-reflection. Now, the length of the reflective journal is that students will be expected to submit 2 journal entries for response and evaluation at regular intervals during the placement to be set by the faculty liaison. Each journal entry should be 5 pages in length, excluding references, a maximum of 1,800 words per entry. Students who wish to choose the reflective journal option must consult directly with their assigned faculty liaison at the beginning of their practicum course for the deadline for each journal entry. So if you are using this, what it means, in fact, if you are using this reflective journal, what it means is that you must have concluded the arrangement. But if you have not concluded the arrangement, what it means is that you are going to be using a reflective paper, which give you 7 days before the end, before the starting of the second semester examination. The field work is envisaged in 3 stages: exposure, insertion, and the immersion. The word exposure is the initial phase. It is that of
excuse me, sir, please. Excuse me, sir, please. Please, okay, sir, sorry. I just don't want to forget this question. Please, sir, I would like you to explain what you mean by this reflective journal, how it is. Are we supposed to get it from the school, or is it part of the document that was sent to us? Please, because I don't understand, sorry.
It's all right. You did very well. You don't need to be sorry. It's okay. Now, the reflective journal is shorter. What it means is that if you are using a reflective journal, you'll be, writing it period to period. That is why I'm saying that if you have not met with the faculty liaison what it means is that all of you will be using reflective paper, because if it is reflective journal, you must have by now submitted one of them. Maybe in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you submit another one, depending on how you arrange with the liaison, the practicum liaison office. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So that is why I'm saying that it is most likely, if you have not done the reflective journal, what it means is that you are going to use the reflective paper, because by now you are supposed to have submitted one of your reports if you are using reflective journal. Is it clear to that extent?
No, sir. Please, sir, which one were we given this reflective paper like a document? That is what I want to know, so that I know that, okay, this is the reflective paper that was given, so that I can write something on it and submit. Because the material that was sent, I've not seen anyone with the heading reflective paper. So I don't really understand, please.
Now, the format for writing your reports is there. Is it clear to that extent? If you are using reflective paper, well, what it means is that it reflects on one particular theme or issue that is of significance to the student field placement experience. Whether it is mental health, whether you are dealing with orphans and vulnerable children, it has to do with a particular theme, and you have to. You won't see reflective paper. Reflective paper is a kind of writing that you will use. You will write reflective paper once, but if you are using reflective journal, you write it like 3 or 4 times before the end of your practicum. What is that your name? I don't know if you get me. Are you there?
Okay. Okay, so I want to buttress on her question.
We are talking about an approach, reflective journal approach to writing of your report, and reflective paper approach to writing of your report. That's simply what it's saying. Thank you.
All right. Grace Chuhu, can I hear you?
Good morning,
Grace
sir.
Chuhu. Good morning.
Oh yeah, I have 2 questions. The first one is you were talking about the fact that it is very wrong for students to be using their money to work. Some of us who are doing who are attached to places where, like you rightly mentioned, I'm attached in a hospital.
I can't hear you.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
I can hear you, but you break. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Me? Yes, okay, sir, I'm hearing you now. So, like I was saying, in a place where, like my office, they do not have monthly impress, and most times they use their own money to put recharge cards, make calls, track patients' relatives. In a place like that, when you find yourself, what do you do? Because I realize I'm also doing that already. You just have to do it to ensure that the work goes on.
Yes, I said it is wrong. Do you know why I say it is wrong? It is because you have responsibility. If you want to set up a social work,
Please, sir, I can't hear you. I did not hear
Are we there now?
anything.
Yes. Network, or you can't hear anything
You were
because
off
I'm
for
off
some
network.
time.
I just came back.
Off for some time.
Yeah, like 1 minute is not that much. Okay, so I'm saying that
You're off again, sir.
it is wrong. If you want to have a social work unit in your area, you need to give those who are providing social in your area. The next, I'm on. Please, Ebenezer Oludakini, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I've had the first question. So can I have you are raising your hand? Can
Yes,
I have
sir.
your question so that I deal with all of them at once?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
In your explanation, sir, you mentioned that us having social workers as our supervisors in the place we are doing our practicum.
Mm.
It's very unfortunate, sir, that most of those places available don't have social work professionals working there, even as either as full staff or part-time staff.
Okay.
So, but my question majorly now is that if a student in organizations that take care of his area of specialization, his environment, they don't have social workers. But he sees another specialization, which is not his own specialization. The organization has social worker. What will you do now that, since you said the person must serve in a place where there are social workers, and in his own specialization, no social worker at all? Will you now go and do in a place where that is not his own specialization?
Okay, to go and do field work. At this level of social work practice, we do what is called generic practice. You are doing your Ppgdsw. The implication, if I'm correct, but you correct me, have you had social work experience training before?
No, sir. No, sir.
So you, at this level, at first degree, what you are doing is generic social work. So PGD is introducing you to social work. It is from master's level that you begin to talk about areas of specialization in Nigeria. Do you know why I say that you should be under the supervision of a social worker? So that the social worker will guide you through. I've had the experience of working with some people. I've had the experience of going to communities with a geology that works in an organization where I was employed as a contract staff. We went to the community to do assessment. The community is saying that somebody died in the palace. The person is insisting that we should do our assessment. He was the program team lead. At the time, I have to call him by the side that you need to commiserate with people who lost their loved ones. Then if there is need for you to continue, then you take it up from there. Somebody is telling you that somebody died. You are telling the person that you need to do assessment. These are some of the things you will see when professionals are not engaged. You know, so it is good that, how will I put it, or a remedy to it, because I may not want you to go to a very far place to go and do your practicum that it will be tasking on you. So if you have already, how will I put it, already a place where you're already doing your practicum, you continue on weekly basis. We'll be interfacing. You tell me your challenges, what you do, what you did in the field. Then I begin to guide you on how to go about some of those things. Is this one clear?
Very good, sir. That is okay, sir. Very good, sir. That's okay. Yes. Very good, sir.
It's all right. Nicole, are you there?
Yes, okay, sir. I'm here. I'm here, sir.
Okay, just hang on a minute. Let me answer Grace Shuku that is talking about using their resources to run the organization. If you open an organization that is your own organization and you want it to flourish and you are spending your personal money, there is nothing wrong in that, pending when you get sponsorship that will begin to sponsor your activity. But if you are working in a hospital setting, the hospital setting have what they call it, social work unit. The reason why I'm saying that you should not use your money is that there are things that are available to you for you to use. For example, if you have an indigent patient or accident victim, you can get the data of such people. You understand? And begin to see how you can maybe reach out to church members that your person is in this place, or the community. There was an incident that happened is in National Orthopedic Hospital in Enugu here. The student, the patient has been there for 3 months. By the time the social workers went to the community were saying that they thought that the person had died. He had an accident. And immediately they begin to raise money, so that their person will be discharged. And how they deal with that kind of a thing. Now, if you begin to use your personal money to run government activities, you may not be in the right frame of mind, because once problem comes, you begin to look at how much are you going to spend to begin to deal with. But if you begin to push, you will continue to push, because as you are doing this, if, for example, you went to a community and were able to raise money for won't the establishment take the money? Definitely they will take the money. So why will you use your money? In places like all these developed countries, if they are providing services for vulnerable people, when the resources finish, if you come and see the social worker will tell you, we are sorry, the resources for social problem has finished. But what we do is that we're going to write your name, put your name down, so that when the resources come, we'll contact you. This thing I said now, is it clear? If you are talking about the issue of spending 200 naira, 400 naira, and you can afford it without being angry with it, you can do that to make sure that your work is going, is a different thing. But what I'm saying is that there is no way social workers will take their salary for the well-being of the indigent patients. Do you want to convert the social workers to indigent workers? Grace, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So Nicole,
thank you. Thank you, sir. My second question, please, sir. I told you I had to.
Okay.
In the report area, the certification page, we are supposed to address it to some persons. Is it possible to give us a line out of who and who to that is like the program coordinator, the head of department, and so on? How do we get those things, sir?
The management will make that available to you.
Okay,
do you understand?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
Nicole,
Thank
can I have you? It's all right. Nicole, can I have you?
Okay, sir. My question, I have 2 questions. You talked about us doing visiting 6 cases. I need to get clarification on that, where you said we're supposed to touch like the agencies, then touch another, then the psychiatric social worker. I just need a clarification on that. That is our practicum not just supposed to be in our area of specialization, or are we supposed to visit different sites to gain knowledge so that we can put it together and give a report? That's my first question, sir.
Now, if you can work, you can go to do your practicum in 2 agencies. You can do it in 2 agencies. You can do it in 1 agency. But the point we are making is that you cannot go to an agency and you handle a client and you write the report of one client for 3 months, except if the agency is moribund, that they don't take care of it. That is why we say we should be able to handle at least 6 cases throughout the period you are doing your practicum. You understand? The issue is the people that came are the people who are going to solve their problem. So you could be in an agency and they will come. Even if, how will I put it? There are people that came and your agency does not provide services for such people, and you are able to do referral to agencies that provide it. You say that social case came, you after intervening, you discover that you don't have the capacity to do it. Then we see evidence of referral that you did. So we believe there is no way you will stay 2 months doing practicum without meeting 6 different cases that you can base your report on. Am I clear? Am I clear?
Yes, sir. I was trying to unmute myself. Yes, sir. Then my second question is, currently now, my specialization is community development.
Okay.
And I am based in Abuja.
Okay.
So I need help because I have called a lot of NGOs and have gone to some of the offices. I found out that they don't even have social work department in that line. And some of them claim to be community development NGOs, but are actually not doing the work of community development that's needed to be done. So I need your advice. Which organizations do I face when it comes to community development that I can do my CWES in, please, sir?
Now, there are, if for organizations that do community development, they are basically non-governmental organizations, and they engage in different aspects of community development. Do you understand? For example, in any here, I know some organizations that they just go and do capacity building in community. That is what they do. Anytime they have grant, they go to community, they build their capacity. They promote what we call citizen active participation in governance, where they hold state what we call duty bearers to accountable, where they can speak with one voice and begin to demand for better service delivery. We are now talking about being in Abuja. What it means is that we need to extend our net as an institute, look at those who are in Abuja and see where, if we can get organization, non-governmental organizations that are into community development. Now, if, how will I put it? If at the end of the day, we are unable to, you say there are some organizations that say that they do community development. How do you know? Yes, how do you know that they don't do community development? Have you gone out with them?
Yes, like I'm going to give an example. In short, one even didn't want me, maybe because of my accent in the first place. He didn't even want me to come to their office because that office was non-existent. It didn't exist at all. So I just felt that it was a front that they made for it. That was one. Then the second one, I went to the office, I asked, and the lady just come and let her be frank with me and be truthful to me that they've not really done anything, that this is just an NGO that's just barely 1 year, 2 years, that they've not really done anything. So I'm just trying to give the challenges that I have found, seeking for a place to do my CWES, naturally. So yes, sir.
So you have not started your CWES?
Yes, sir. I just came back from my father-in-law's burial, so I'm hoping to start in July, so I can use 2 months, July and August. Okay, let's see. Okay, what will happen is that we have institute members who are based in Abuja, so that we see if we can get somebody in community development. I think that's what we take forward. But the only one I have seen, sir, it's I'm trying to go to the office this week we're entering, is the Community Development Institute. I called them, although they are quite far from me, but I wanted to go and see if there are instances I could do my internship with them and see what they do with the community, apart from training that they offer there.
It's all right. So what will happen is that while we do that, we also do our own to see the one that works.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Sir, can I offer a
Hello,
suggestion? Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah?
Can I offer a suggestion, please?
Who is talking?
Ebenezer to Nicole. Can I offer a suggestion, sir?
Okay.
I know, sir. I know, sir, that there are many local governments that used to have community development departments. Okay. And I think Abuja has about 6 local governments.
Okay.
So I don't know if she can try any of those local governments and see if they have community development department, and if that if that may really help.
It's all right. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir.
Please, can we say one at a time? Let me be calling. I want to listen to Taiwo.
Okay.
I will get all of you. Taiwo.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You.
I want to ask, my own specialization in social work, advocacy, and campaign. And then where I'm doing my internship presently is majorly for advocacy for irregular immigrants and then for child labor. Now, the strength of advocacy is actually in number. So the response or the intervention that we do is actually a group response or group intervention. So I wanted to understand when we're talking about, disease cases, management of clients, because in my own field, we don't get to manage a client individually. It's actually a group response. So I want to know, how do I report this? Thank you, sir.
Okay. If you have a group response, you should be able to write a report on how many groups we are able to respond to and how you responded to them. It is now a collective work. I hope you understand. You are not doing it alone now.
Yes, sir.
So what it means is that you should be able to pay attention to see how you are able to explore different strategies in responding to the different groups. If you are able to respond to three, fine. You cannot write a report on what you did not do. Do you get me? So if it is a good response, if they are up to 5, if they are more up to 6 or thereabout, you do. But if they're up to, if it is like 3 or thereabout, the way you are able to write your report will tell us that the report is rich enough that this is what you did in the field. All right.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Fabulous Balogun. Is all right. Fabulous Balogun. Fabulous Adeshola Balogun.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Can I have a?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Right. Sir, as a new intake, I want to know if we are going to do this field work now, because we just joined this semester. Yes, sir.
This semester. I think it's going to be a management decision. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You're having this class. You have. I think this. When Ebenezer, are you still there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please. How long have you been in your field work? Have you been doing the practicum?
I started the last week of May.
Last week of May. That's
yes,
like 1 month now.
3 weeks now. Yes, sir. 3 weeks now.
Okay, 3 weeks now. Okay. Fabulous. We try to look at when the exam of this semester will come out, so that if you have did you do your kind of Fabulous?
No, sir. I'm standing.
You did not do your kind of. Okay, it's going to be a management decision because it's really very tight. Social worker, you want to respond?
Thank you very much. That was a good one there. For those who are having back-to-back, who are just starting now, some are in their second semester, some are just starting their first semester. I think those in the first semester have a better opportunity for them to do the things right now. You need to start with your KINEP. You have been taught from the beginning of this interaction that there is KINEP for the first semester. So you start your KINEP. Start looking for areas where there are social work offices, social work facilities, interacting yourself with them one way or the other, knowing what they are doing there. You introduce yourself as a social work student from the institute, chartered social work practitioners, then let them know, just get yourself acquainted. It is throwing you into the wild so that you by yourself can begin to look at areas where whether they have holding capacity for social work or they don't have holding capacity for social work students. Just go around, introduce yourself, let them introduce themselves to you on what they do, create a rapport. And by the time you are doing 3 or 4, there are areas you think you don't have social work. Social work is very vast. And you'll be shocked to know that there are some areas you think that they don't do social work there, that they do social work practice. Wherever we have often said that wherever there are human beings is a field of social work. Where you feel it's important, where you feel the names looks like. In many ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria and all over the world as we speak, have social work desk officers. They may not call it like that, they may not know it. Those who are on that desk may not have studied social work, but there are desk offices for social work. I heard some people were saying that their specialization, they don't have social workers on those, but in many ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria, things will begin to change from now on that we have a chartered institute assented to the bill by the former president. It begin to change now that you begin to see social workers taking their proper place in ministries, departments, and agencies. So if they have desk office and those who are on that desk are not social workers, don't mind for now, just go there. They have acquired some level of experience. It is not the ideal. The ideal is that there are social workers who are supposed to be your field supervisor, but in the case where you don't have that, but they have desk office, just go ahead there. Many of them have spent 5, 10, 15, 20 years on that desk, delivering services. They have gone for trainings on that desk. So they know one thing or the other. They could be able to also help you. So don't say because they've not studied social work and this and that. That what we are envisaging is that in the next 5, 10 years, things will have changed considerably. That social workers will now be manning where they naturally belong to in ministries, departments, agencies, and non-governmental organizations as well. So because of that, just be at peace, be at rest, and don't, everything is not for now, it's not cast in gold. So you should be able to do your practicum safely. Those who say they are in Abuja, they have not been able to find, that is the essence of KINEP. If you have gone around looking for areas that you will have been able to get one. And those who are talking about specialization, you have heard that social worker Ferdinand said it is at master's level that you have specialization. Not at this level of PGD is a bridge. You are transiting, you are crossing. It's as though you are an undergraduate student. So what we are doing with you is to ensure that you bridge the gap of what you have not done or missed during that is expected of undergraduate students. That is what you are doing in all your studies, including practical, practicum. So just be at rest, do the needful, whatsoever thing that we need to assist you with. The practicum placement coordinator will get in touch with you, or as you interact with him, he will get in touch with you. If you have any challenge, just call it, feel free to call it. In the letter on the website that you need to download, his number, his email is there. So you'll be able to attend to your needs as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, social worker Tara. Thank you very much. I'm having a very awkward weather here. I don't know what's going to happen, but let me hear Mba Moses. Moses Mba. And I have Charles Akeza.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, my question is regard to, you talked about 4 weeks for 75 hours, if I'm correct, sir. I stand to be corrected.
You are correct.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir, for instance, why I brought up this topic issues, because there are some ministries, or let me use the River State Ministry. When we submitted our letters there, because they have other students from the University of Port Harcourt, River State Universities, other private institutes coming for placements. So what they did was they checked your letter, they'll check your letter and see how many hours duration, how many hours that you are expected to do. So I could remember very well that what they did was to split those hours into days and expect you into weeks. Like, for instance, we had 150 hours. So I noticed that they splitted it into weeks. So if you're saying 75 hours and 75 hours per 4 weeks, for some of us who went to River State, I don't think it's going to be in that format, because they shared, because of they already had students there, they do it on a rotational base. So when some students are leaving a particular, for instance, a rehabilitation center, that's sending another set of students to that place for a particular period, sir. So they expect you should be in that particular place for the maximum duration they've placed for you. Maybe, for example, maybe 2 weeks, and you should be able to finish that's your practicum for that how many hours for that 2 weeks before they move you to another section. So if we're saying four weeks for 75 hours, I don't think ours was done that way because we moved from section to section. So we did, though we're still on it, because they moved us to the first section for 2 weeks, then they moved it to another part of that. They moved it from the rehabilitation center, they moved it to another unit. Let me use it unit. So what they did is that you spend 2 weeks in this unit because of our letter, which stated 150 hours. So from my understanding, I think and also with their own schedule of other students they had. So I feel what they did was to calculate it 2 weeks, that's like 45 hours in a unit, and they send you to another unit. You are doing another 2 weeks straight for 75 hours, sorry, sir. So that means if you are doing 2 weeks in this first unit, you are doing 2 weeks in the other unit, that's 4 weeks. So I don't think that will be up to 2 months from what they're explaining. So I don't know if it's acceptable because from their own schedule, they have a lot of students. So they don't keep you there for so long. They move you from unit to unit, sir.
Now, from what you have said, what it means is that if they are giving you 2 weeks, that 2 weeks will be very loaded.
Yes, the 2 weeks is going to be loaded before they move you to another unit. And
now,
if you are there for 2 weeks, they're calculating 75.
We don't have power over that one because that is their organization. Do you understand?
Yes,
that is the way they have arranged their own. What is important for us is that you do 150 hours.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
That is where they have organized their own, the way they will be dealing with students, since you said that they have a lot of other students. So once you are able to cover the 150 hours, you don't have problem. But let your report reflect that 150 hours is fully loaded.
Yes, sir.
Please, sir. I think.
Thank you.
Hello, Sama on Moses Mba.
Please, weather here is very. I think we can call it a day. This is 10 minutes to elapse. So please.
I have questions. Please, my hand has been up since. So.
Hello, sir.
Please,
that means I'll call you privately.
No problem. Please, we can now go because I'm having a very funny weather. And if I stay more than this, I don't know if you people will be hearing me again. So it's wonderful. You have a wonderful weekend ahead.
Hey, God.
Who is saying?
Nico.
Yes.
Nico, are you there?
I don't know if you know about Red Cross.
Please, what is even
Red Cross, they normally do. Can you hear me?
Hello, class. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Nico.
Yes.
Hello,
Red
class.
Cross normally do community. Sorry, Charlie.
Okay, Charles, fine.
Yeah, so I noticed that Red Cross normally do a lot of community development activities. So I don't know if it's acceptable for you to do this your placement with them because they do a lot of community activities.
Red Cross, right? I'll go and check them out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because what I know is that you may just have to, I think you may need to maybe a member, which I don't think is expensive, maybe 2,000 naira. So what they do is I think they attach you to a detachment, maybe where it's close to your house. So what they then do is that every week they have different community development activity for your local government or your area where you're staying. So I feel when you're done with that, you can also submit your logbook for them to find. I know they do a lot of community development activity, a lot.
It is well. Thank you, Charles.
All right, Nicole.
Yeah.
Nicole, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine.
My dear, please, I need help.
Concerning...
I can tell you that the whole discussion today is quite confusing for me.
Please, what is KINEP? Let's even start from there. What is KINEP?
I don't know where people from here.
I'm
I
supposed
don't
to have
even
a
know how to
meeting.
convert my log entries into reflective journal. I don't even know where to start. So.
Okay, we are going to let's take it one at a time. So I'm going to have a meeting with Madam Mafosa and Mr. Dyer later on this evening because I need clarification on a lot of things.
What time, please? Because we have a class by 7, I think, this evening.
No, I don't think we're going to have a meeting.
Hello,
Okay.
sir.
Hello, please let's allow Nicole to land, please.
Hello. It's Mr. Ted. I want to speak as a lecturer. Please listen to him.
Okay, Mr. Ted, please.
Okay. Please, if you have any question on practicum placement, just get in touch directly to the practicum placement coordinator, not a FOSA, not Mr. Dyer.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you for that, sir.
Secondly, whatsoever you need to download of the website, go to the website. Mr. Dyer will be able to put the link to the website of practicum placement on your group. Ensure you download. If you are able to download the practicum module, you will be able to understand better when you go through it again. Then, those who have not been able to submit their forms, print your form directly. I mean, your mobilization form, print it directly on the website. Is there. Put the name of the organization you want to go to on it and go and submit. You may print about 2 or 3 and distribute to one. At the end of the day, you'll be able to get one who will be able to absorb you. Then 3, make sure you fill the practicum placement form. Is there on the website. Everybody, whether you have started or not, go to that site and fill the form there so that you can have your form at the back end. So every other thing being in place, you should be able to get at least some things done on your practicum. Like I said, it's nothing cast in gold for now. For those of you who are in your second semester, you don't have much time now. You have at least a month plus. So just ensure I encourage you to do something between now and the time that you have your project defense and then you go for your convocation and the likes. So please just try as much as well. For those who are just starting their own first semester now, though you are joining the second semester, you have every opportunity to do the right thing. Make sure you follow the details of what have been said today by the PPC and go online through the link and make sure you study it. It is part of the requirement for field work practicum. And you know that about 6 minutes course is one of the things that you cannot do without. Rather, you must be able to sufficiently do your practicum and do your seminar in practicum and write your report and be true. Because whether you like it or not, it has greater units than all the other courses. And you dare not fail it. If you fail it, it means that you will be coming back next year to still do it while other people have graduated. So please, I encourage you, just go ahead and do the needful. The reporting aspect that I said is an approach. It's not something that is given to you. Whether you are using reflective journal approach or you are using a reflective paper approach, it's an approach that you are looking at to the writing of your report. I hope by this there's heavy rain here now. I don't know whether you are hearing me or not. I just want to encourage us that let's do the needful, the practicum placement unit will assist you in any way that you may be lacking or you need assistance. So on this note, I want to tell us that people have been wonderful having listened this much. We are going to be posting the recording on your platform so that those who are not in this class or those who have not been able to join at the earlier stage will be able to also have opportunity to listen to the recorded meeting as well. So on this note, I want to say thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ter. Thank you.
Thank you,
We
sir.
appreciate you. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you for your input, sir.
Please, can I ask a question, please?
Hello, please, can we have the man's number? We don't have his number. They said we should have his name directly. We need his phone number.
Hello, please, is there any deadline for practicum?
We have said go online and study more. Deadline was part of what we talked about. So just go online, study the manual on your own. That's why the manual is there. It's for students, not for lecturers. So go online, study the documents that are there online. They are all for you. And make sure you also do your payment for your practicum and upload your receipt. It's very, very important so that nobody will be holding you to account on that. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Sir, the link to the website.
It has been given on the platform. Please check our platform. You see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone.